many budding young cricketers, one of the greatest fielders the cricket world has witnessed, and one of the greatest cricketing sons Sri Lanka ever produced. A true ambassador of the gentleman's game. Roshan Mahanama.
Yes, fine. So we've got a good cross-section of the business community here in Sri Lanka. And during the social section of this, certainly you'll have the opportunity of mingling with the business community who are present here, and then having a little chit-chat and see how best you could link yourself, right, in a business sense. Well, the gentleman on my right needs no introduction. He's a cricketing legend. He's a former captain of Sri Lanka cricket. And today he is here to have a discussion with the ladies and gentlemen who are present here on certain aspects of life, certain aspects of cricket, and then how we could basically take this forward in a form of into business. So good morning to you, Roshan, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Malik. Good morning to all of you. Listening to all of you, I think for the first time I'm under pressure, but I batted from 1 to 9 for Sri Lanka, so I'll try to do my best this morning.
Okay, Roshan, let's get the whole thing kicked off, right? So what we'll do is we'll have maybe a 20 to 30 minutes discussion with Roshan. We'll get to know Roshan. I think you all know Roshan, but there are certain aspects you would like to know about Roshan. And then after that, we will get on to a Q&A session and see how things would move. So Roshan, the first question I would like to ask you is that your name is there enriched in platinum lettering in the game of cricket. But today there's an element of rugby here. How do you look at this?
Malik, first let me pay a tribute to my hero, my father. I've decided, especially when I say something in front of a gathering, I'll pay a tribute to him. I lost him about 7 years ago. I'm more at ease at the crease than saying my piece on occasions like these. When I told my father that I don't mind playing in front of 100,000 people or 100,000 plus people like what we did in the 1996 World Cup finals, but when I had to say or address a gathering, I said I'm very reluctant, but then he said, son, you do have an obligation, so start any session or a speech by using that phrase. So ever since I lost him, I just thought I need to do that. Coming back to your question, Malik, a lot of people don't know I come from a rugby background. Dilo might know. I see Dilroy Fernando here, who knew my uncles, my mother's, my maternal uncles were from Royal. Yes, they did play cricket, but I think they focus more on rugby. And even now, I don't watch a lot of the Cricket World Cup, but yes, I try to watch the Rugby World Cup. Not because of anything else, no offense to anyone, but that's the passion that I have towards the game of rugby. At Nalanda, we are not known to be, producing good rugby players, but that's a sport that we try to promote at Nalanda. For me, I was hardly in class. I was kicked out of class for not doing my homework, purely because I spent a lot of time playing sport. There was a reason for that as well. Maybe through this discussion we'll cover some of those points. So I just wanted to prove a point. And when I was spending a lot of time at the grounds, that's one of the sports that I took up. And me and my brother both played rugby as well as cricket for Nalanda.
Right. One of the things about Roshan, in fact, I happen to know his father. He was a very close buddy and a friend of mine, and where Roshan is concerned. Now, even today, we asked Roshan to be here at 7:15 in the morning. On the dot, 7:15, the man was there, right, in front of Cinnamon Lakeside entrance. And that is a huge discipline, particularly in today's context. Roshan, how did you basically get those disciplines entangled into you?
Malik, whilst I give credit to my parents, I came under a coach who taught me not only cricket, he taught me life skills as well. I think it is an appropriate forum for me to relate a story. That's how he taught me about punctuality and the importance of keeping up to a word. Um, we were renting a house in Rakmalana. My father had a company vehicle. Mr. Mendes used to, that's Mr. Nelson Mendes. Mr. Nelson Mendes at the time was traveling by bus. So obviously we were neighbors and we couldn't allow us master to travel by bus. So we had to give a lift. One fine day, we had a game. I'm not sure whether it was a weekday or a weekend. And I was asked, I was leading the under 13 team. I was asked to be at the grounds at 8:30, we will say. And I was ready. I'm not sure whether it was my father or whether it was Mr. Mendes who was late that day. I feel it was Mr. Mendes. So they were traveling happily, got to the grounds. They were cracking jokes and so on. So I thought, they're slightly late, but doesn't matter. I've traveled with my first coach, so everything is going to be good. Went into the dressing room, left my bag, and he called me, Roshan, can you come here? I thought, he's going to ask me about the team composition and what we are going to do and so on. And he just said, what's the time now? I said 8:35 or thereabouts. And what time did I ask you to come? I said, sir, 8:30. But that was it. I got a slap. He said, Roshan, you're the leader. You have to be here on time. If you don't do that, how are you going to command respect? And I went back home and I told my father that that's it. I'm not going to play cricket anymore. I got late, not because of because I was late, but because either him or my father was late. But that's the kind of lesson that he taught me to date. We respect him. Even now, once a month, I try and go and see him, worship him, purely because he taught us life skills together with the sport. Yes, if I was at school, it was him and the masters who were at Nalanda. But if I was at home, my mother was a teacher. Obviously, we had certain rules that we had to follow. So I've been one of them who have tried to maintain as much discipline as possible.
Roshan, about your father, in fact, he was a motivator, he is a trainer, and he was a management consultant, and he used to relate a lot of stories, right? And also he used to talk a lot about discipline, right? Does he walk the talk?
Definitely, he's one of them who walks the talk, and I think he had many talents, much more talented than me and my brother. But he was one of them, and they encouraged us to maintain certain standards and discipline as well. Yes, we talk about in the current context having managers, but my father started managing me when I turned, or even before I turned 18, and he said, son, this is the only time that I'm going to treat you not as my son. I'm going to treat you as Roshan Mahanama. By that time I had done well in school cricket, and for him, he was very big on image building. So for him to do that, I thought he had to walk the talk. By saying that, I just got one of the quotes as well. I think in life, looking at a lot of you eminent personalities, that's very important, walking the talk. Not many people in this country walk the talk, which is very sad. And I think we all equally are responsible for the state that our country is in right now. Because we don't walk the talk, I feel we are quite selfish in terms of getting benefits for us or our organization or people who are working under us. Because that's why I have some respect for someone like Imran Khan, former Pakistan Prime Minister, whom I had the pleasure of playing against. He was one of them, and today I think he walks the talk. I think we do have a responsibility to try and walk the talk, at least when it comes to protecting our country and to bring back into a better place.
Right, about the country, I think I've got a couple of questions lined up for Roshan. We will take that as we go. But I'd like to ask you, Roshan, a couple of things about the challenges you faced. Getting into cricket, I think, if you have a son who's playing cricket at school level, right? It's not easy to get him selected or to get him, ask him to raise his hand and get selected to a cricket team. In addition to that, it's not only a college cricket team, but getting into a national cricket team. I'm sure you would have faced a lot of challenges, right? It was not an easy ride, right? There would have been tremendous pressure on you. Can you tell us how you overcame those things?
Malik, the tagline there was very appropriate. I think first moving on against all odds, I learned this even before I turned 15. I'm a very proud Nalandian. When it comes to a common bonding, it will be my old school, proud Sri Lankan, and people who have been involved with the game I love so passionately. But I had excelled at under 13 level, at under 15 level, and I was selected to represent my school at a very young age, 14 plus. So I was pumped up. I was very happy that I had been selected. My brother was playing as well. I got to the grounds. This is no offense to my school. Some of my colleagues also feel that I shouldn't be saying this. Even my father was of the same opinion, but I said no. It's important that we share this to show people that yes, if you want to achieve something in life, you will have to face challenges. So I got to the grounds, pumped up to do my best because I had excelled in batting and fielding and never bowled. When I got to the grounds, to my surprise, my own schoolmates, my own colleagues felt that I was not good enough, and they were hanging white flags, black flags, and the entire school was mourning the fact that I had been selected to play for my school at a tender age of 14 plus. Yes, it turned out to be a very sad day for me. It's still etched in my memory. Got through the game with the greatest difficulty. It was not a easy game. Then there were eternally, problems at home because my mother's people or my uncles, all of them came from Royal, and my father was a very proud Nalandian, and that's why we ended up at Nalanda. And my mother was of the view that I should be taken out of Nalanda and either put me at Royal or to another school. And I heard later on when my father passed away that he had cried on the shoulders of another old Nalandian and said, I can't imagine that this is happening to my son. He never told me, but what he told me was, son, I'll take up the fight. You just let the bat do the talking. Later on, again, I found out that he has had a meeting with the principal of Ananda College with some friends, but came back and said, I need to say this in Sinhalese, but he taught me a lifelong lesson even before I turned 15. Yes, I think my mother had that feeling purely because she didn't want me to go through what I was going through, and it was not a very easy period for the entire family because I couldn't go to school for about 8-9 months. And as a family, we were going through a lot of people don't know what we went through. There were anonymous letters that was going around. That was the extent that it went to. But I had to keep my head high. Ended up being the first Sri Lankan schoolboy cricketer to have won the Schoolboy Cricketer of the Year award back-to-back, 1983-84, if I'm not mistaken. And I just thought that was the only way that I can prove my critics wrong. And even, I'm sure we'll discuss as we go along, Malik, even afterwards, when we entered the national team, there was this perception that it was it was only for a certain section of players from schools in and around Colombo that could play for Sri Lanka, but we proved some of those people wrong. Yes, we had the challenges, but what was important for us was also, for me personally, to prove my critics wrong and to go towards my dreams.
Roshan, apart from cricket, I know you're doing a lot of social service. you're doing a lot of work for humanity, right? You started, in fact, what is called a Roshan Mahanama Trust, and I've been following the trust very carefully. I have also got involved with Roshan in going close to Baunia to helping. What's the place? Yeah, Kahatagasdigiria, where a complete children's ward was built because there was a lack of facilities for children in that area. Can you tell us a bit on the Roshan Mahanama Trust? You have what is called a Lama Piasa, a place for violent where children who come there from violent homes. Then you have Suwa Arana, a place for healing childhood cancer. You also have the Ayati Foundation, helping hand for children with disabilities.
Malik, just to add on to what you were saying, we helped them to build a neonatal ward there as well. If you remember, this was Kahatagasdigilia. But here again, I think I'm indebted to my parents. I grew up in that environment. We all help in our sort of small way or whatever possible way to keep the less privileged people of our country comfortable. But I was exposed to all this at a very young age because my father was involved with the Sri Lanka JCs, and the ideals of Sri Lanka JCs, and one of the things that they had to do was community service and help people. So I grew up in that environment. A lot of people might think that I've suddenly turned up and I'm doing all this with an ulterior motive. No. I'm waiting for them to put the election list out. Everyone thinks that I might be coming in to politics. No, if I do come, I know I will win, but that's not the path that I want to take. I feel it's a waste of time. So after the tsunami, when everyone decided to go down south, my father got together with a eminent group of people, and we set up a trust. We raised funds through friends and family, and we went to Kalavanchikude when most people were focusing on the south. We started off from Kalavanchikude and ended up in other parts. We did about 70, 80 different projects from the funds that we raised. With that, I was doing all sorts of different things, and I think 2011, 12 thereabouts, Hema's group through Shiromi Masakorala approached me and wanted to know whether we could partner or I could partner them for a charity event. Baby Shiromi was celebrating 50 years of their presence in the country, and they wanted to come up with a charity project. So I said, why not we get the 1996 World Cup winning team together to play a match to raise funds. And we thought there might not be a lot of people who would come to watch the match, and we selected a smaller ground. To our surprise, we had a packed ground, and we had to have screens outside as well. We raised to educate 250 children. We raised funds to educate 250 children, and also about 50 children who had done their O-levels but could not go on after the O-levels. We supported them through that project, and also subsequently we played another game and we raised funds to make a contribution to kidney patients, or one of the projects in Polonnaruwa. With that, Hemas wanted me to be part of their Hemas Outreach Foundation. I'm involved in about 12 different charities. People might think that I'm wearing these pins. They are not medals or anything from my sporting days, but the number 2 one is breast cancer. Breast cancer, we are in the month of breast cancer awareness. Number 2 is the most common cancer for men is prostate cancer. That was given to me when I was at Lord's on the day that my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I was down and out, and the dressing room attendant at Lord's gave me that. Ever since I've been wearing that. And the other one is SOS Children's Villages. I've been involved with these organizations. With Hemas, when I joined them, they had built about 30 plus schools. Now they have built 63 schools. I play an active role, work closely with those organizations or these movements. We've laid the foundation stone for the 64th preschool. Then they wanted me to be a trustee of the IT Center of Excellence for Kids with Disability. That's the first national center for kids with disability. I think we need to keep talking about these centers to get the message across, because parents become helpless if they have a disabled child, and creating awareness is important. I'm part of SOS Children's Villages. SOS got us involved because Sri Lanka moved away from a low income earning country to a middle income earning country, I think in 2016 or thereabouts. And SOS, being an international organization, they were going to lose out on the funding that they were getting, and now they get much more. And through them, even 2 weeks ago, I traveled from Monragala to Komari by distributing school items. I've been to about 25 very remote villages in the last 1.5 years, whilst going overseas as well, trying to raise funds. I'm part of Indira Cancer Trust. We opened Sri Lanka's first pediatric palliative care center for end-of-life cancer children. It's walking distance from the Apeksha Hospital. It's known as Suwarana. I'm a trustee there at Indira Cancer Trust, as well as Suwarana. Must tell the audience, all the Nalandians will be proud, the whole Nalandians of Perth, they send me money monthly to buy pediatric medication, and I know there are two gentlemen here from Technomedics. We buy other stuff to donate to the cardiac ICU of the Lady Ridgeway Hospital. Even this Monday I was at the hospital. We donated some items with the Roshan Mahanama Trust. Our key focus area is children, because I feel people who get affected are the children. It can be a father, mother who will be diagnosed. I'm part of Sri Lanka's Kidney Patient Society, Sri Lanka Stroke Association. Mituro is prevention of addiction. Community Mealshare, Vijayarama Family Foundation. We focus on different causes. I've been to all these places in and around Colombo during the economic crisis, giving them food parcels through Community Mealshare, and the school items we do through the Vijayarama Family Foundation. So with all these trusts, either I function as a trustee or a brand ambassador, and I work closely with them. So our key focus area, which started the trust 1 year ago, we've come a very long way. Focus is children, and our aim is to give these children a good education, create, look into their health and well-being, create a safe environment, and also emergency intervention, what people are going through right now. Under that, education, we go and distribute. Last week as well, I was in Rangala. We donated school items to 2 Tamil schools in a very remote place. When I traveled, I covered all 5 continents in the last 3 months. The only place that I went was to Zimbabwe to officiate. All other places I went to raise funds. And I realized certain people would say that they like to support the North, they like to support the East. I said I support Sri Lanka. So wherever possible, we go and donate school items. Under health and well-being, we have been supporting the children at the cardiac ICU of Lady Ridgeway for the last 7-8 months by giving them consumables after heart surgery. I think these children need to be monitored, and they sometimes struggle because they can't get consumables. So we have been doing that we've been doing it under emergency intervention, but under health and well-being, we've been buying pediatric cancer medication, and so on and so forth when there's a request. Under creating a safe environment, I am the brand ambassador for College of Pediatricians. There's only one center for children who have been sexually and physically abused. That's at Ragama. Being the brand ambassador, they played a video to show what goes on in this country. A lot of people might not know. My wife, who's a trustee of my trust broke down after seeing the first video. I asked her why. I said, you should have waited. And she said the first picture that they showed was a 5-year-old girl who has been abused. And she said, I was thinking of our granddaughter. So that's what goes on. And we need to keep spreading this message. With my travel, in the last 3 months, I have raised funds to build the second center for children who've been sexually and physically abused at the Karapitia Hospital. And we have got the drawings done. We need to get the BOQ. And when I make it a reality, I think there'll be few people coming forward to support similar centers in the north, east, and who knows, maybe Anuradhapura is also an area that they're looking at, and they feel the most amount of children who are abused are in Sabaragamo. So this is also a key focus area. They released a video on World Children's Day. I appeared free of charge because I think we do have a responsibility to get this message across to every adult, every child, and they will be starting this through all the preschools. And keep in mind, if any of you all have young children, more boys get abused than girls.
Well, Roshan, listening to you, I think your father has certainly influenced you. He was a key member of the JC organization, and one of the tenets in that says, service to humanity is the best work of life. And I think you're doing service to humanity. Now, Roshan, a question I thought I must ask you is that during the Aragalaya, we saw you with the boys and girls, right? You were holding their hands. There were other cricketers as well there, right? And you really believed in what they did, right? And taking, going there in the nights, being with them, right? Influencing them, getting the message across. Roshan, I remember coming for the Roshan Mahanama Trust launch, and I heard you saying, you also just mentioned about the 225. That certainly, it goes without saying that if a person like Roshan basically takes on that line, there's no doubt, right, that he's a winning streak. There's, irrespective of whatever it is, right? So Roshan, you mentioned on that day that you don't have to go into the 225, but from the outside, you can bat. You can do the batting. I agree. I fully agree. But I personally feel that there is much more than that people like you can do, because looking at you, there is integrity, there is honesty, there is dedication, there is love for the country. And I think people of this country would want to have that element of leadership to take this country forward. If not, as you know, the last 75 years we've been talking about this country is going, you yourself know about it, that it is not very complimentary. It is not complimentary. You go to any government division, you talk about any minister, it's hard for us to think that, oh, is this right? Can things go right with this lot? Roshan, I'm not for a while trying to, I know, I fully appreciate, I fully understand your point of view, but I think the country, we need, right, people like you with honesty, integrity, the hallmarks of honesty and integrity. As you quite rightly said about Imran Khan, right, he did a grand job there in Pakistan, right? So irrespective of parliament, irrespective of politics, should not there be a better visibility for people like you?
Malik, when you said the 225, I just thought you were referring to my highest test score. So sorry, that was also 225. So just a coincidence. Why I was there at the Aragale was, I must tell you, one of the reasons that I thought I do have a responsibility towards the less privileged people of this country is when I was working for the ICC, I realized that all these games are focused mainly on the spectators, not by the players but by the match officials. When we start the game, we wait for TV to give cue and so on. And we were told by the people at ICC to try and maximize the game as much as possible because players tend to come off early when it's dark and so on. Yes, they're trying to safeguard themselves or their wicket. That's a different case. So with that, I realized that this is all to do with the fans, the spectators, and if you're a cricketer, I feel you're also in the entertainment business, and you owe something in return for your fans. So the biggest thing I thought was to be there and support them. Yes, during the Aragale, people felt that it was politically motivated. I like to tell the leaders as well, it was not politically motivated. I like to remind people all this started first in Kohuala, then it went to Dehiwala, from there it went to Mirihana, then it came to Colombo, and certain maybe political groups parachuted subsequently. But one of my father's friends, Uncle Robin Vijay Singh, I still have the boat that he was holding out in Dehiwala. From what I can remember, he said, "We want our bare essentials and a country to live in." And I just thought, if Uncle Robin, who must be about 85 or thereabouts, can do that, we do have a responsibility. And I think people from all walks of life everywhere got onto the streets just to show how unhappy they were when people were going through that hardship. A lot of people didn't know the number of times I visited Aragale. Even on the last day when they were walking out of the place, I was on a bike wearing a cap, push bike, wearing a cap, went around and went back. And when they were burning stuff, I think it was the 9th of May or 9th of June, I think 9th of May, a lot of people stayed indoors. But I walked, my wife wanted to join me to show support, but I said, no, I can't look after two. And from home, I walked up to Goldface, there were barricades, police, people with all protection and so on, but nothing stopped me. My aim was not to get people to keep doing that, but to calm them down and say, yes, show that you're unhappy, but don't. I had the fear that we might end up in a bloodbath, and that's the last thing that you wanted to see. I just thought in my small way, I had to go and calm them down. So they were coming across, I was wearing a mask as well, and then I thought I need to take my mask off because they might have the wrong impression. And then I was calming them down. From town hall up to Goldface, I walked, and you could see people were running all over. But then the reason was that I just thought, yes, we need to show our support. How can people starve? There was no electricity, there was no fuel, there was no medicine. And I was at an event last night. I got back home at 11:30. Our new health minister said that he's coming up with a plan to make sure that there's enough medication. But I know, because I go to all these hospitals, that there is a scarcity, right? It's their responsibility. And Malik, yes, I think we all have a responsibility. For me to take up that responsibility later on, it's a different matter for me to consider and think. But at the moment, what I've been doing is to try and get this message across. This is the ideal forum, and I'll use this. This is a very good question. We need to get this message across to the leaders of our country. I have started rejecting them. I appeared, I told you all, I appeared for the video of the child protection campaign. They launched it at Temple Trees. I said, I will not come. They said that was purely because if the President and Prime Minister is coming, we should not invite them. Even yesterday they were invited. They are treated like heroes. They are the ones who have taken this country to this level. It's like the cricket board as well, Trevor. It hurts. Everyone says they have done their bit. For me, I'm 57. I'm very proud. Sri Lanka never left the country. Manjula knows, a friend of mine had everything ready for me to move to Australia, but I didn't do. David Cruz. I didn't do because now we regret, because my second daughter is a doctor in the UK and my youngest daughter is moving to Australia because she's a data scientist. But I can't stop them from moving out. So I saw another leader saying that leaving the country is not the solution. But have they created an environment for these children to live in? I don't think so. So I think we need to get that message across. That's exactly what I'm doing at forums. There's no point in going and contesting an election and saying you're coming, and single-handedly I don't think we can change this, Malik. This is my view, and for me to find 50 like-minded people, I think I struggle, because you touch your heart and see whether you've done the right thing by the country. For me, I have not been perfect. I have a lot of faults, I have made mistakes, but nothing has affected my country. Nothing has affected an individual. But look at the corporates. It's not only the public sector. Even the private sector is equally responsible. I'll tell you why. A gentleman spoke to me. I was at a similar event at Cinnamon Grand. I got to know later on that he was an Alandian. He said, Malli, I'm very proud of you. I said, why? He said, you're fearless when you're talking about leaders and politicians. I said, why should I worry? I said, I've not got a toffee from a leader. So I should be, they are our servants. We should treat them like that. And he said, mildly, I was in the top 8 of a blue chip company. We discussed this at our board meeting, but we all walk off saying, let's keep quiet. If we make a noise, if we make a fuss, our organization will be victimized, our organization will be affected. I moved out of the ICC on a matter of principle. A lot of people don't leave an organization like this for prestige and money. But I thought I need to stand up for what is right. That's the way I've been brought up. Yes, it was a very critical time for my family, but never looked at the monetary benefits. I started a business soon after I left the ICC. People badly let me down. Few corporates as well. When the ship was sinking, they decided to jump off the ship purely because we started few months before the Easter bombings, and then COVID, then the economic crisis. And I can proudly say that I visited all 3 churches that were affected by the Easter bombings, including the Zion Church, and to date we are looking after some children through the Vijayarama family trust. So I think we do have a responsibility. That's what I'm trying to do at forums and so on. And with my business, Malik, I know you, I told you as well, try and find some people to support us. And another individual who had the audacity to tell me that he earned about 5 billion rupees because of me when I wanted 20 million rupees to revive the business. He decided not to support me, but we bounced back. That's why I said the tagline is important. Never give up. Keep fighting. You will have challenges. Now I can proudly say that there are 1 or 2 banks. I can see Sampath from Sampath, right, who will come to us now. But when the time we needed that support, I didn't get that support. And sadly, I must tell you that there was this scheme that was brought in by the then government, and business people were getting that loan. When I wanted to get the loan, I didn't get it because I didn't go behind any leader or any politician. But sadly, I was this close to paying money and getting that loan. Then I thought, actually it was my son-in-law who got me thinking. He said, you have never done that. You've led a life. Why do you want to change it? And I pulled out. So I think if I went to a leader, I could have got that support. But I didn't. I just thought because I will not make a good businessman. My son-in-law and the brothers are running the business, but am I giving them or setting them the right example? And yes, we bounce back by working hard and looking at other mechanisms. To give you another example, my daughter, who's Sima qualified, the eldest daughter, she started a business during COVID, which picked up. She just opened another outlet. She's into desserts. But we need to find ways to improve and be successful rather than going behind leaders. Please don't hero worship them. You might have friends and family. I understand. Even in a family, we do have disagreements. But I think the time has come for us to get that message across. Let's do that first, and then let's look at what we could do later on.
Well, thank you, Roshan, for that very encouraging note, right, which underlines a lot of things. Well, this discussion will not be complete if I don't ask Roshan about the current state of cricket in this country.
Are you surprised? When we won the World Cup, we had Trevor is one of them, who was assistant treasurer of the BCCSL at the time. It was very hard for us to get people to come and serve the cricket board. Yes, they were top corporates who had responsible jobs, but they came and joined the board for the passion, for the love of the game. And I think everyone's talking about the 96 group. I will say it's not only the 96 group, everyone who played prior to that set the tone for everyone to progress. And then from about 97, 98 until about 2015, we were riding high because we had the players. And if you really look back, we had a very good run. We made it to about 3 World Cup finals. We made it to about 3 T20 finals and so on. But then I think there are some past cricketers also who are equally responsible for getting together with the leaders, some of the leaders. And I think unless they change the system, this is what we are going to face. It's like a household. The life of a household is the mother. But if the man of the house does not behave in that manner, the entire house will collapse. So what we see there is, I feel sorry for the players. I don't think they have role models. I don't think they've been guided properly. And for any young one, if you all have young people, encourage them to have mentors. I think that's what we need right now. And I don't think these boys will have. So they have to have a clear plan and a vision. And if we are to start, I think they have to do a lot of groundwork. I just got a message recently saying that they're building a turf in Gampa. That is because they feel that they can count the number of turfs that they have from maybe from Colombo to Kandy or whatever. Then we know the number of turfs that we have from Moratuwa to Galle. But here they are planning to build stadiums rather than building turf pitches. So where is their focus? Where do they need to invest? And I know, I'm sure the principal will agree with me, how hard it is for us to support the boys at Nalanda. I think most schools, it's the old boys who are doing a lot of work, whereas the board should be supporting the schools also, but they support the clubs. Some of these clubs are there on paper. There's 26 clubs. I don't think there's any country in the world that there are 26 teams, first class teams, and it's increasing by the day. I was told that we'll have another 2. Trevor would again agree. We had, I think, 10 the time that we were playing, went up to 12. See, so there are a lot of changes. It's not fair to blame the players. Yes, I think their attitude also need to change, because not a lot of people will get an opportunity to do something for your country. Once you get that opportunity, you have to always remember that you are an ambassador of your country and behave, perform in that manner. Losing is part of the game. You need to lose to bounce back and come up. But I think it's important that we get this message across to the youngsters.
Yeah. Well, Roshan, well, if you're given the opportunity, right, as a legend and a former Test cricket captain, what would be the first thing you would do? What's the first change you would do?
There's no single chain, Malik. You'll have to make a lot of tough decisions. When I met one of these individuals, I said, give me an opportunity to take over the under 19 team. I'll focus on getting them to be patriotic, to focus on doing their best, and as an elite sportsman, I think it applies to the corporate world as well. You can't compromise on discipline, and for a sportsman, it's fitness. For me personally, Malik, I will not compromise on honesty, integrity, values, friendship, loyalty, discipline, and I'll put money last. All of you can think for yourself what happens if you put money first. Sadly, that's what we see with some of the leaders, and it has filtered down to a lot of the individuals of this country. So if you put money first, you'll compromise on all these values. For these people, the players, the youngsters, there's no profession in this country where an individual can buy a car in about 3 months. Cricket is the only sport. So at the under 19 level, if these boys focus on the benefits rather than what they should be doing for the country, then it's not going to help. Whatever they deserve to get, they will get. Same with wherever you guys are working as well. If you go after more money, then you need to do something unethical to get there.
Yes, well, thank you, Roshan, for those comments. In fact, talking about discipline, in fact, I know I'm very jealous of Roshan because every day from 5 to 6:30, he walks 10 kilometers on the road. Even last evening, when I spoke to him, he was walking. So he has the discipline, 1.5 hours of walking every day, and that is how he's keeping himself fit. So we will now open the floor. Roshan, is it okay if you open the floor to take a couple of questions from the audience? And can we have the first question coming up? Manjula, you like to ask the first question?
Thanks, Mahanama and Roshan for that excellent introduction. And I like to get your view in today's context. I know most of the organizations are now trying to stay away from sports, but in terms of bringing them into the employment, they give more prominence to people who are coming with academic backgrounds. So I know during our time when we were leaving school, when we were playing sports, but before we left school, we had offers on the table. I think that's not the case today. So why do you think organizations still look for a sportsman and than an academic or combination?
Manjula, first you got me to agree to be part of this event. I was on a very tight schedule, but I'm one of them who does not say no when it comes to doing something for my alma mater. And I know why we have organized this event also. I told I'm outnumbered, outvoted at home, having my wife and 3 daughters. But I told my daughters that they have to do a sport. I think Mr. Ronnie Piris, if I'm not mistaken, I have to call you Uncle Ronnie, who's a coach as well. I think people like Uncle Ronnie and all, together with my father, who was a corporate trainer, will focus on leadership, handling critical issues, teamwork, and so on and so forth are things that you learn automatically through sport. So I told my daughters that they need to do a sport. And my youngest daughter said she can't stay out in the sun. I said, if you don't want to stay out in the sun, do something different. There are so many indoor sports. And it is very important for children to take up sport. And I will encourage anyone because to mix around with people. When you're down and out, how you can bounce back. Another good example is my daughter, the same daughter, she started doing chess or something and came back home, face was long, and I started laughing and she said, it's not funny, I have lost. I said, this is exactly what you what you learn through sport. Now you see why you lost. Analyze and bounce back. Respect one another, right? If you work in a work environment, how many times your organizations would have done a team building exercise? And there was this notion, no offense again to any political party. JVP එකෙන් කිව්වොත් ගන්න නැහැ. මෙහෙමයි කියලා තියෙනවා. I think so it's the same mindset. Right? You need to be an all-rounder. Now, my second daughter, I'm talking through experience, Manjula. I think most of you ladies and gentlemen will have young children as well. My eldest daughter doesn't like sport like my wife, but the other two follows any sport. Now, the second one was the games captain of her school, but now she's a doctor. So, nothing should stop someone from focusing on academic career. I wish the cricketers, other sportsmen also can combine the two, but unfortunately I think cricket is a sport where it takes a lot of time compared to other sports. But I think it's quite important for a work environment as well if someone comes from a sporting background. But even if you don't have that, some of the others take up sports socially. How many of us when we were kids played with our friends? Can be anything, badminton for females, you name it, cricket, rugby. I think the modern children have not been exposed to that kind of environment, and from my point of view, through experience, I think it's very important that they do sport.
Well, thank you, Roshan. We can take another one or two questions. Yes, Mr. Ronnie P.S.
Yeah, first of all, let me salute Roshan for his humility, his sincerity, and his thoughts. Because we need people like that in Sri Lanka. That is what we are lacking at the moment. I, of course, knew his dad quite well. I was an accounts clerk at Hebrew Brothers. And if he was alive today, I would say that Roshan is a chip of the old dog. I would tell Rupali, you are the chip of the young dog. Roshan, congratulations on all your achievements. I think you've done extremely well. Roshan, I think one of the key things which would help is if you can have more sessions of this nature, because what we lack in Sri Lanka is accountability. And you can't demand accountability of your national leaders unless you yourself is accountable. And you have exemplified today, you have given us anecdotes about discipline, routine, regimentation. It might sound bureaucratic and mechanistic, but I am a firm believer that you need order. So please do more and more things of this nature, and I sort of like your endorsement of what I'm saying.
Thank you, Mr. Piris. I think last we met was in South Africa by accident again. I think if I'm given the opportunity, I will do this because this is exactly what I want to do rather than going into politics to get that message across to the youngsters as well. The youngsters do have a responsibility, and that's why I said we need to get people to walk the talk, and also accountability is very important. I know without having a proper background, I was rubbing shoulders with top wigs in the ICC. I think there was someone above who gave me that opportunity. Why I say that is when I joined the ICC, Ranjan Madugalle was already established. It was only Sri Lanka who had 2 on the panel. Today, a panel of 7 match referees, and we had to function in a corporate environment. We were dealing with top CEOs of different countries, but then we had so much of facilities where we could have abused, and I know some of the others abused. That was one of the reasons for me to leave the ICC when they made certain changes, because they didn't look into the backgrounds. So I think yes, any opportunity given to me, I will share my views, and I'm talking through sheer experience and what I've done up to now.
Well, thank you, Roshan. There's a question there.
Roshan,
Trevor.
you said something profound and which I endorse about the corporates in this country can be a lot more responsible for the improvement of things in the country. Be it all the corporates just take a step back and let the 225 do whatever they want to do. And some of them are capable, but they are totally outnumbered. For example, I was on the cricket board. I served for 5 years and I moved out. I've been invited back and I said, I've been there, done that. Because you're totally outnumbered. So if you want to do the correct thing, you're outnumbered. But if the corporates in this country, who are the heavyweights to a certain extent, put their shoulder to the wheel and want to do the correct thing and demand accountability from the country, from the 225, I think we could get back on track to some extent. And I think you mentioning this up there boldly, and I think we all need to be bold, and I might be also saying things that people may not like, but that's the truth. They play both sides at an election. They want to play safe, they want their company to succeed, but at cost to the country. And I'm glad that you speak about this openly.
Thank you, Trevor. You got me thinking about something as well, because this is the ideal forum. If I get an opportunity like this, I'll always come and share my views, because when we bounce back from the difficulties, we started doing some work. We're in the process of setting up another small factory, and one of the partners had told my son-in-law, you don't have to pay taxes, we will help you to pay about 1% and get away. And then my son-in-law had said, I don't think we will do that, and also I can't even take it up to my father-in-law because he is not going to agree. So this is the mindset of some of these corporates. For me personally, like I said, discipline levels we had to maintain. Was my father was the one who opened my tax file. I've been having it for 35 years or whatever, and today every April I keep a list of other payments I get as well from here and there, and then I give it to my tax consultant. Before he comes, I know we need to submit by November. He has everything. Yes, if we can wait without paying, I will wait without paying, because we don't get anything in return in this country. But I will not pay someone to get a benefit. I think that's what we need to get this across to the corporates and demand your organizations as well to do the right thing. You might be the odd person in the group, but unless we do that, we can bounce back. Otherwise, it's best that we don't complain.
Well, that's right, Roshan. In fact, that's why in a very round manner, I try to impress upon you that we need living examples like you, right, to show the world that things can be done differently. Any other question?
Roshan, this might be a bit of a personal question out of what you were talking all this time. You are a very busy person, I know. Now, hearing about your work, you have another thing to attend after this, I suppose. How do you manage your day? What do you do, what we don't do? Difficult question.
It is, for me, even when I was playing, I spent a lot of time outside. And I'm so thankful to my wife, not that I'm telling females to do that, because she realized at the time that she had to make a sacrifice for us to support the children, because my job took me out and I spent a fair bit of time traveling. And when I was working for the ICC as well, my last 2 years to be precise, I was out for 206 and 207 days. But what I did was, whenever I was in Sri Lanka, whenever I was at home, I made sure that I got back home by about 2 o'clock. And then that was a time that kids would come back home from school. We sat together as a family, had a meal, and if I had to help them with some of their work in the evening, yes, I did that. While I focus on now, when I tell people that I'm busy and if they see me walking in and around Colombo, I'm busy. That's my 1 hour for myself. And when Malik called me yesterday, I was doing the same thing. So it's all about having the balance as well. Sometimes, yes, in this country, you know one another, but you need to politely get out of certain um, if you're invited for events and so on, to have a balance. And even to date, I knock my phone off at about 2 o'clock. That's because that's the time again I go back, spend a bit of time. Yes, if I wanted to make more money, could have had more businesses. I just thought family was important. A little bit of money was more than enough for me. Uh, I know someone who's seated here. I have not even built houses for my children. They might have properties, but I am focusing on other areas purely because what we need to give them is values and to show them that we are there to guide them, to show them uh, how they can go on the journey. So I've spent as much time as possible by having a balance because of not focusing on a lot of other business activities and so on. That's why I've got two businesses, but I hardly spend time. I get my brother-in-law and son-in-law to handle. I've kept the in-laws on either side because if they're together, I don't want to be twisting in my grave. So if something goes wrong, they can be on either side and handle whatever issues that they're facing.
Right, we can take maybe one or two questions. I think the microphone is very much closer to Mr. Nista Kasim. Let us say thank you very much, Mr. Nista Kasim, for being the media sponsor, the editor-in-chief of Daily FT. Right, thank you very much for being a media sponsor. You think you want to add on to this?
Thanks for dragging me to ask a question. Roshan, excellent as always, very inspiring. The follow-up to I know you do a lot of social work. What about you also mentoring the youth? Have you looked at, because if you are given up with the senior guys in the country, what can you do mentoring the youth so that the next generation, guys who will be there in the next 20 years in the leadership, either political or corporate, that they have the values that you are promoting?
And it's not that I've given up on the 225. I think most of the people have given up, but we need to keep putting pressure on the 225 to bring in another group of leaders. But I think that's also an important aspect to mentor the youngsters. That's why I said before as well, I encourage, if you all also have young children, it's important that they find a suitable mentor. Yes, for certain individuals, we try and support. I personally do that wherever possible, but I have not looked at doing it in a more positive manner because of my because of the other commitments. But if someone wants certain help, I'll always come forward because I think we need to get this message across. I've told so many leaders that from the schools we have to start getting this message across about getting children to live their lives by sort of practicing certain good values. That's why countries like Norway, Singapore have moved on from teaching the children numbers, letters. They don't do that until they are 7 years in these countries. So I think what's important is for us to get this message across. I've told so many people, yes, you got me thinking. I'll even tell HEMAS, they do have 60 odd preschools for them to start doing that through the preschools. And if any organization is keen on doing that, yes, why not? I think we do have a responsibility to try and leave a better place for the younger generation. I think that's a responsibility, not to get the benefits. While you get the benefits, to focus on leaving a better place for the younger generation.
Well, thank you, Roshan. Just to add to that very vital question which was posted by Nista, is that in Japan what they do is until the year 7 or 8, They say we don't teach children. We don't give them the alphabet. We don't ask them what is one and one. No. What they do is they inculcate values in them. Values in little kids, because you can't generally include those values when the child is 12, 13 or 14. It has to come from the bottom. So that is what Japan is doing. So ladies and gentlemen, I think with that we will conclude the question and answer session. Before getting on to the closing formalities,
For more latest news, subscribe to FTTV.